Hey everybody, Qroo here. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about different ways to translate about, concerning, pertaining to. This is going to come up a lot in your conversations because you want to talk about things, right? So you want to use the word about. You also want to be able to steer the conversation towards a topic of your choice. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to be breaking this down into categories so it's easier for you to remember and to use. All right. So right in our first category, I'm going to be talking about 3 ways to translate about that viewers ask me about all the time. And we have de, sobre, and acerca de. These are all used to translate about or concerning. And viewers often ask me, is there any real difference here? Should I choose one over the other? And I can tell you that in most cases, they are completely interchangeable. For example, I want to say to you, tell me something about you, about yourself. The about part could be any of these. Dime algo de ti. Dime algo sobre ti. Dime algo acerca de ti. That last one's a little longer, but they are completely interchangeable. Another example. I don't want to talk about that. I could say, no quiero hablar de eso. No quiero hablar sobre eso. Or no quiero hablar acerca de eso. There will be times when you may not want to use de. You'd rather use sobre and acerca de so it's clear what you're talking about. Here's an example. If I said, es una historia de mi abuelito, you could translate that as, it's a story about my grandfather, or it's one of my grandfather's stories, right? It's not clear because de could really mean either one in that circumstance. So in that circumstance, I would prefer to use sobre or acerca de. I really like sobre because it's nice and short. So that's our first category. Now we've cleared that up. Let's go to our second category. And in this one, I'm going to be giving you one of my favorite sentence starters to steer a conversation to the topic I wanted to go to. All right? En cuanto a. You'll just have to speed it up a little. En cuanto a. For example, en cuanto a la fiesta, no quiero ir. About the party, I don't want to go. Concerning the party, I don't want to go. Regarding the party, I don't want to go. As far as the party, I don't want to go. Any of those English words, if you're thinking about them, you can use en cuanto a for all of them. Now, there are other ways to express that in Spanish, but I don't want to give you a long list of them here. Because when you're in the conversation, I don't want you to pause and be like, I just missed my opportunity. You don't need a lot of them. You just need one. And I like this one, so this is the one I'm teaching you. En cuanto a. It's a piece of cake, right? Great way to steer the conversation to whatever you want to talk about. En cuanto a lo que dijiste ayer, in reference to what you said yesterday, now one already sounds accusatory, right? Those kind of things. I just like this one. So let's go on to our third category when we're talking about something, all right? And with this one, we're going to be using the Spanish verb tratar. Tratar. Tratar can mean a lot of different things in Spanish. You've probably seen it. And I don't want to go all the way down that rabbit hole because it means a lot of different things. We're going to be using it with de a lot. We're going to use tratar de or tratar sobre, right? Plus our noun. And that's going to be talking about in reference to, about. Now, in Spanish, tratar is used more when you want to talk about what is the subject, what is the topic of this thing. So this is the verb of choice when you want to ask, what is the book about? Or what is the movie about? ¿De qué trata el libro? ¿De qué trata la película? What's the book about? What is the movie about? El libro trata de la vida de mi abuelo. The book is about my grandfather's life. Now, you could have tratar de or tratar sobre. You could say, el libro trata sobre la vida de mi abuelo. The book is about my grandfather's life. Either one. Let's talk about the pronominal form of this. You will likely hear tratarse used this way. And you may hear it with books. I've heard it a lot in Latin America. And that usage is going to be more Latin America. In Spain, that's just going to sound wrong to say, ¿de qué se trata el libro? What is the book about? But I've heard it in Latin America. I've said it in Latin America. But when you get really into the Spanish and those scholars that sit around and say what's correct, they say don't do that, okay? Just use tratar. But that doesn't mean you'll never use tratarse. you will use that pronominal form. And when I say pronominal, I'm just talking about verbs, that in the infinitive have a se added. Those are called pronominals. So don't let the grammatical terms scare you. There is a time when you will use tratarse, even in Spain, but it's when you have, there's no subject mentioned and it's more impersonal. No subject, okay? So for example, if I say, ¿de qué trata el libro? What is the book about? There's a subject, the book, right? But let's say somebody knocks at my door and I open the door and I'm like, what is this about? What is this? Like this concept, there's no real subject named. That's when I can use the pronominal. And I could ask, ¿de qué se trata? ¿De qué se trata? What is it about? What is this about? So do you see it? Do you see the difference? If there's a subject, use tratar. If there's not, you're talking about general concepts or that question in particular, ¿de qué se trata? That can be on your word list. That part's fine. All right, little sidebar here. You remember I told you that tratar has a lot of different meanings? Well, one of them is very similar to the construction I just showed you, because I just showed you tratar de, right? To be about plus a noun. Well, there is a tratar de plus infinitive, and it has a very different meaning. It means to try to do something, to attempt to do something. See, that's very different, right? But it's using a verb. That's what that infinitive is. So this is actually really common in Spanish. So if you want to drop it into your word list, let's go ahead and do it now. Now, this is the same as if you're familiar with the verb intentar. It means the same thing, all right? Intentaste abrir la puerta. Did you try to open the door? Trataste de abrir la puerta. Did you try to open the door? All right? I could actually stop the video right here, but I want to give you one more construction. This is actually a construction I recently covered with the members of the Qroo Spanish crew. That's a membership that I offer through Buy Me a Coffee. They get access to additional materials, worksheets, videos, things like that. But I recently covered it with them, and I think it fits in here, okay? Tener que ver con something. It's like to have to do with it. That's what we say in English, that something has to do with that or it doesn't have anything to do with that. In Spanish, they'll say it has something to see with it or does not have anything to see with it. For example, I could say something like, health has a lot to do with diet. This would be perfect for this. La salud tiene mucho que ver con la dieta. All right, that fits perfect. Now, I'll tell you my personal experience. I don't use this like in the affirmative very often. I'm usually using it to say that something doesn't have anything to do with something else. All right. So on my early word list, that's all I had. I didn't even have like the affirmative. And there's two ways to do that. You can have the no tiene que ver con whatever, or no tiene nada que ver con. There's no difference, which either one you like. So for example, I want to be like, this doesn't have anything to do with that. Esto no tiene nada que ver con eso. Or esto no tiene que ver con eso. Either one. I like it in conversations, you know. It even fits in well with some of the other things, right? Knock at the door. Hey, what's this about? ¿De qué se trata? ¿Mi esposa? My wife? No. No tiene que ver con tu esposa. No, it doesn't have anything to do with your wife. You see how all that works together? It's pretty good. That's actually a really good way to learn Spanish and practice it, is just come up with like little dialogues on your own and just talk to yourself, you know. Sure, the people around you think you're a lunatic, but you're getting better at Spanish. Let's think of it that way. Well, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, just do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. And until next time, hasta luego.